Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani Design PD-1696. This watch is available from Pagani Design Global AliExpress store for €145. You can also purchase the watch from Benyar store on Amazon.com for $160. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in this Pagani Design premium watch box, and I think it's definitely an improvement on the standard cardboard watch boxes that Pagani Design watches come in. Hinge lid, the interior is finished to a nice standard with a velour fabric, fully upholstered, and the watch sits on a padded pillow cushion in the base as one would expect. So very nice presentation, and I prefer it to the cardboard watch box that they usually use. With regards to the other items, this is the owner's instruction manual. Although basic, it does suffice. Clear, concise diagrams, and the instructions are in English. It details every aspect of operating the piece, including the movement use, which is the Seiko NH36 automatic. One also gets this plastic guarantee card, and I'm pleased to report the watch is covered by the usual 12-month international guarantee. This strap also comes with the watch. As you can see, it's a Zulu strap. We have stainless steel Zulu keepers and a Zulu buckle and tang, which are black PVD coated to a high standard. Good quality stitching throughout. The two Zulu keepers are stitched into position so they can't slide out of position. Nice heavy thickness to the fabric, and the nylon is finished to a good standard. So nice to get this strap included if the silicone rubber strap isn't your personal taste. This is the plastic tag that comes with the watch. And lastly, one also gets this Pagani Design branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of the piece. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Pagani Design PD-1696. The watch is clearly an homage to the Seiko PADI Turtle, reference SRPE 99K1. So, very similar proportions. We have a 44.8mm diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 47.5mm, a thickness of 14.2mm, and a lug width of 22mm. The silicone rubber strap tapers slightly from 22mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang, and as you can see, the buckle is signed to a high standard with Pagani Design engraved. Nice heavy gauge of metal to the 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang. Brushed satin finish to the top side, underside and flanks. And I like the attention to detail because we've got a nice bevel machined on the edge of the buckle, which is mirror polished to a high standard. So very well executed buckle, it's high quality, and I like the quality of the finishing. Two rubber keepers on the strap, which are also signed with Pagani Design, so again nice attention to detail. The two keepers are sliding, they aren't fixed. One would expect the first keeper to be fixed, but I don't mind them both sliding. So I'll show you the underside because it's nice attention to detail. We have cutouts. Rather than making the strap perfectly smooth and flat, they've got these cutout vents, and that allows for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist, and it also allows for some air circulation on the underside of the strap. So good attention to detail, and on the other side we've also got the same cutout vents to allow for air circulation and to allow for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist. So it's a very well executed silicone rubber strap. Feels very similar to Seiko silicone rubber straps. I would describe it as softer than vulcanized rubber, but stiffer than the silicone straps you might be familiar with from AliExpress. So the quality is good, and I'm pleased to see Pagani Design using good quality silicone rubber straps. Now, personally, I would prefer to see stainless steel quick release spring bars used, because that would make removing the strap and changing it easier. It uses conventional stainless steel spring bars, and as you can see, it's a very tight fit to get a spring bar tool in between the rubber strap and in between the lugs. And therefore it's quite difficult to remove the strap because the spring bars are heavily spring loaded and the silicone rubber is difficult to compress. So I would like to see them upgrade this to using quick release spring bars, but however, this is a minor criticism. So with regards to the rest of the specification, we have a double dome sapphire crystal. Now the negative of the sapphire crystal is there is no AR coating on the underside, and when I tilt the piece at an oblique angle, as you can see, it is highly reflective due to the mirror polished silver hands and also the silver mirror polished applied indices. So it would really benefit from clear anti-reflective coating on the underside, but on a positive note, the sapphire crystal is more scratch resistant than the hardlex used by Seiko in the Seiko Turtle. I like the symmetry of the dial, and I like the fact it's not a direct clone or copy of the Seiko Turtle. The shape of the indices is slightly different, and the shape of the hands is also different to the handset used by Seiko on the Seiko Turtle. However, if you look at the proportions of the hands and the length of the hands, you can see they are undersized. I think they should have scaled up the proportion of both the hour and the minute hand, and also the minute hand should be longer. The minute hand should extend to the chapter ring, which is fully indexed with minute ticks. At the moment it reaches the indices, but it doesn't extend to the chapter ring. So really the hands need to be made larger, and they also need to be lengthened. And if you look at the contrasting red second hand, you can see that it's also too short. It should extend out to the chapter ring. As it is, it only reaches the applied indices, so that's a disappointment. I think the hands are undersized. With regards to the day-date complication, it's clearly legible. The proportions are good. The white day and date wheels have contrasting black Arabic numerals and also letters, so they're clearly legible. One can easily read it's Monday the 7th, and I like it. So I think they've got the proportions of the day-date complication correct. I also like the layout of the dial because it's not over-branded with unnecessary text and specification. It simply says Pagani design with a brand emblem at 12, and then we have automatic divers 200 meter at the 6 o'clock position, so just the right amount of information. And it is a good homage to the PADI Turtle because on the minute ticks on the chapter ring, which are white, at each of the 5 minute ticks we have a red tick, and that contrast matches the contrasting red second hand and also the Pepsi bezel. The bezel insert is made from aluminium. Now, the aluminium isn't as scratch resistant as ceramic, but however, this is an homage to the PADI Turtle, reference SRPE 99K1, so it does a good job of replicating the aluminium bezel insert used on the Seiko Turtle. The anodized red section is very aesthetically pleasing, and also it's a nice tone of blue to the blue section of the Pepsi bezel. The minute ticks and the Arabic numerals are nicely infilled to a high standard with white paint, and we have a Lume pip and triangle at 12 o'clock, so it's very aesthetically pleasing, and I like the way the beveled edge of the double dome sapphire crystal catches the light. The sapphire crystal projects just above the top edge of the flat aluminium bezel insert. The bezel is made from solid 316L grade stainless steel, knurled finish, and very similar in profile to the Seiko Turtle bezel, very aesthetically pleasing, and the knurling teeth are finished to a very good standard. So I like the execution of the bezel. Let's test the action. 120 click unidirectional bezel, as one would expect. Nice loud audible clicks, so it sounds nice. It's got a lighter resistance than the Seiko Turtle bezel. It feels very similar to a Pagani design PD-1696, which I'm sure you're familiar with. No lateral side-side play whatsoever. However, we do have some back play. I would describe it as one click of back play. I'll just check it all the way through the 360 degrees. Yes, the back play is present all the way through 360 degrees of rotation, as you can see. So that's a disappointment. Really, there's room for improvement with regards to the bezel execution. No lateral side-side play, but we do have one click of back play. I'll just check the alignment. So the Lume pip and triangle perfectly align with the double applied indices. The alignment is correct. So really the only thing they need to improve upon is the one click of back play, because it feels tight laterally. There's no side-side play, really is just back play, and I think that is something that needs to be improved upon. With regards to the crown, solid 316L grade stainless steel, signed to high standard with a Pagani design emblem, which is mirror polished. Coin edge finish to it, so it's finished to a very good standard. Let's test the action. Feels very smooth. It's actually very impressive. Nice smooth thread action, good interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So the screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters. In the first position, it's the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the movements, which is the Seiko NH36 automatic, to top it up to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it. It feels silky smooth, good foam resistance to it. Pulling it out to the first click position is the day-date complication. So rotating the crown clockwise advances the day, as you can see, and we have a contrasting blue for Saturday and contrasting red for Sunday, but the other days of the week are black, and they're bilingual, as you can see. in French and English. So the date rotates anti-clockwise on the crown, as you can see. Nice quick set complication to both the day complication and the date. It clicks over very nicely, and it's characteristic of the Seiko NH36. They've got a nice quick set complication function. Putting it out to the second click hacks the movement. This is the time setting position. Feels silky smooth, nice light resistance to the NH36, and I like it. It's no backplay whatsoever. One can feel the gearing, but it feels very light and smooth. So it's an absolute pleasure to set the time and also the day-date complication. Pushing it back in restarts the movement. Nice positive click. Let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. It's very good. Screw down crown execution. I really like it. This is something that Pagani Design deserve full credit for, because they do produce very well executed screw down crowns. It's silky smooth. Feels very similar to a PD-1696 screw down crown, which I'm sure you're familiar with. With regards to the case back, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, engraved to a good standard with the specification around the circumference, and we've also got the reference number, PD-1696. They've also engraved a turtle, which works very well with the watch, as it's an homage to the Seiko turtle. Flawless mirror polishing to it, and also a matte bead blasted effect background to it. So it's very well executed, and it's also low profile, as you can see. Feels very smooth and comfortable against the wrist to wear for long periods of time, and it is finished to a very high standard. The underside of the case is also finished to a very good standard with a concentric brushed satin finish. So the finishing to the head of the piece and the case back and the crown are all very good. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I'm pleased to report that this silicone rubber strap fits my 8-inch wrist, and that is a pleasant surprise, because often, as you'll know from my previous reviews, I'm critical because these straps that come on watches and also the bracelets are a fraction too short for my 8-inch wrist, but this one does actually fit my 8-inch wrist. So the two keepers can be engaged and it's very comfortable. So I like this silicone rubber strap. It feels just right. It's just the right balance between the vulcanized rubber feeling of a durable strap and the soft and supple feeling of a silicone rubber strap. Although it's silicone rubber, it's a soft silicone rubber, and I like it. So I think it's a nice blue tone, which also matches the blue sunburst style and the blue anodized Pepsi bezel. So very comfortable, very good looking, and it's surprisingly low profile at 14.2mm, even though it has a double dome sapphire crystal. Very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. And the surprising thing about it is, although it's 44.8mm, so just under 45, it actually is deceptively light. On the silicone rubber strap, it's only 125 grams. So I would say it's really best suited to collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches. But however, if you do have a larger wrist, you'll find it to be very comfortable on the silicone rubber strap, due to the lack of heft. Nice undercut to the turtle tonneau case, as you can see. It wraps around the wrist, a lovely curved profile to it. It really does look very similar and feel very similar to the Seiko turtle, the PD-1696, which this is an homage to. Brushed satin finishing to the tops of the lugs look very aesthetically pleasing, the way they catch the light. And I like the bevel on the edge of the double dome sapphire crystal, the way it catches the light. So it's a good looking piece. It's a comfortable piece to wear. The feel good factor is good, and really it's very aesthetically pleasing throughout, and I like the feeling of wearing it. It's 125 grams, is very comfortable to wear for long periods of time. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged. And initially it looks good. It clearly uses C3 Luminova rather than C3 Super Luminova. The colour tone match is good, and this is something that previously Pagani Design get wrong, and I'm pleased to see them get it correct on this piece, because the colour match of the lume pip on the aluminium bezel inserts, the applied indices and the hands, the colour green tone matches very well. It's clearly the same lume they're using on the bezel inserts, the applied indices and also the hands. Sometimes on their watches they get a mismatch in the colour tone between the dial and the hands, but on this piece they've got continuity throughout. However, as you can see, due to it being Luminova rather than being Super Luminova, the C3 is beginning to fade quickly. Now it's fading evenly between the hands and also the applied indices, and I would say it's similar performance to a PD-1661 in terms of the brightness and in terms of the length of time the lume glows. But as always, it's something I would like to see Pagani Design improve upon. I would like to see them upgrade to either using BGW9 Superlume Nova or alternatively C3 Superlume Nova, because it really would enhance the piece. Because as you can see on the hands and the indices, it's now beginning to fade, and it will quickly continue to fade to nothing. So I would say the lume performance is acceptable, bearing in mind the price point of the piece. €145 is a low tier piece. But really there is room for improvements, and it's something that really disappoints me about Pagani Design. Bezel execution and poor lume performance, and also I think there is room for improvement with regards to some of their quality control in other areas. But this is something that really disappoints me the most, is the lack of lume performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. This watch uses the Seiko NH36 Automatic. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. The NH36 and also the 4R36, which is the same movement, has been in use since 2011, so in 2022 it's now well proven. It has 24 joules and it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand binding and hacking, which is useful complications, and the power reserve is 41 hours, which is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy of the NH36 is -35 to +45 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that this one is very well regulated, and it's running consistently at +8 seconds per day, which is very good for an NH36. So there is no difference whatsoever between the NH36 and the 4R36. It's just Seiko in their own branded watches call the movement the NH36. Now there are two versions, the NH36A and the NH36. The first generation was called the NH36A, and the new current version is called the NH36, and that will be succeeded by the NH36B, which is an updated version. So the quality of the NH36 is exactly the same as the 4R36 used in the Seiko Turtle, and also it's used in several other watches, including the Seiko 5KX and the Seiko Dress KX, which I've previously reviewed. So to get an NH36 at this price point is very good, €145, because it is significantly less expensive than the Seiko Turtle, which this is an homage to, the SRP 99K1. So I like it. It's accurate, it's reliable, it's a good, solid, well-proven workhorse movement. Hand binding and hacking is very good. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So €145 is the price point. The negatives to consider are the lack of AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal, the underside hands, and the weak performance of lume. Also the back play on the bezel, but having said that, there is no lateral side-side play and the alignment is correct. So one has to factor in these cost-cutting measures and these quality control issues when evaluating the piece. The quality of the finishing throughout, with regards to the bezel, the screw-down case back, the crown and also the head of the piece, are all outstanding. Exactly the same quality of case finishing as one would get on a Seiko Turtle, which is significantly more expensive. So the quality of the finishing, in terms of the build's quality and the quality of the brush satin finishing and mirror polishing, is all outstanding. And Pagani Design deserve full credit for this, because it is significantly less expensive than the Seiko Turtle. However, disappointing, there is some backplay on the bezel, lume is disappointing, and also lack of AR coating is also disappointing. On a positive note, the screw down crown execution is very good. It's very well done, and I really like that aspect of the piece. So I would describe it as good quality. I'm not going to say it's excellent quality because of the QC issues, but I would say the value is excellent. To get a Seiko NH36, which is the same as the 4R36, at €145 is very good. This is less expensive than a Seiko 5KX or a Seiko Dress KX, which also use the same movements, and significantly less expensive than the Seiko Turtle SRPE series, which also uses the 4R36. So when it's getting a very good movement. Also, the sapphire crystal is strong specification, because in a Seiko Turtle we get hard Lex. This is sapphire crystal, so it's harder and more scratch resistant. So there are some strong points to this piece. 200 meters of water resistance is perfectly acceptable. So overall, I like it. So I think it's good quality, and I would describe the value as excellent. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Pagani Design PD-1696. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.